So today I welcome Luca on the show. Thanks to have accepted my invitation.
My pleasure, Martin.
So Luca, if you should resume your path in 3 minutes, how you will do that?
Yeah, so I'm Luca. I'm a software engineer basically as a background. So I've always been an employee with a 9 to 5 job. About 3 years ago, around 2019, something changed in my mind. So I decided that I wanted to build my own products. And I would say that I followed the usual first startup founder journey. So a lot of big mistakes. So I built my first product for 2 years in the dark, let's say, on the side. So with not a lot of validation, not building an audience and so on. So after a couple of years building this product in a duo, so I was with a former colleague, we launched on Product Hunt and we got 70 upvotes. So that's when we realized that there was something not really working well in what we did. So I opened Twitter and I discovered a word. So this huge indie hacking movement. And I started learning a lot of stuff from other entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and indie hackers. So I realized that I needed a distribution channel, potentially even more. And then I had to start investing time on building one as soon as possible, because it probably was the most important investments you can do as an entrepreneur. So in 2021, I started being active on Twitter daily and posting content and trying to grow my audience basically. Yeah. And by using Twitter, I noticed that there were many things that could be improved on the platform. And I'm a developer, so I know that it's possible to develop apps. And so at the end of 2021, I started building a product around Twitter DMs. Which is called Highboy, and it's it's live, it's there, and recently I launched a second product still around Twitter DMs. So this is very, very briefly my journey. I still have my 9 to 5 job, and on the side I'm working on interactive and engaging with a lot of people on Twitter, and try to grow my 2 products.
Okay, thanks for this presentation. That's interesting because in your story at the beginning you say like you decided to build the project 3 years ago, but you didn't quit. You still had your job the whole time, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So the reason why is that I'm not that young. So yeah, I have some expenses to cover. So so I'm still waiting to get a reasonable amount of MRR before switching to full-time indie hacking, which is, of course, my dream. Because now it is a way of working, for a company, and most of your time is dedicated in improving a product and make someone else happy. So like the founders and the stakeholders, basically, is something that, I don't want to invest my time this way, right? I want to invest time on building and growing my own products and my own stuff. So, yeah, I'm still in this mode, let's say, so 9 to 5, and trying to make the switch.
So, how many hours a week you can dedicate to your side project?
That's a good question. So I try to leverage mornings as much as I can. So before starting working on my 9 to 5, I try to dedicate at least 1 or 2 hours to my projects. Okay. And then, of course, at the end of the day, of course. So let's say a couple of hours per day.
Okay. So you wake up at 6 to work for your side project?
I'm not that good. I wake up at 7:30.
Okay.
And hopefully I have a full remote job, so I don't have commuting. I don't waste a lot of time in commuting and... Yes,
makes sense. That's something I was always curious about, because I feel like building a project is very time consuming, and when you have a job in the same time, that's also time consuming. So it's hard to manage to build both. properly. But that's interesting. And why you didn't switch to something like freelancing?
Yeah, I know that it's, let's say, a step you can do in between, a full-time job and full-time indie hacking. But I think that my difficulties will be to time box what I would need to do with clients. And it's something that I never did in my life. So I'm pretty sure that I will not be good at doing it at the beginning. So I will waste some time. So I'm thinking to stay with the job at the moment and then switch to full-time indie hacking. So not intermediate step.
Other interesting question: how much MRR you have now, and how much you need to switch?
Yes. So at the moment with the two products, I'm generating around 1,400 euros per month. It is steadily growing every month, so I'm very optimistic about it. I set the target to 5k MRR before switching, but it's something that I continuously reevaluate.
Okay, that like to the up way or down way, like you change it.
I would say I don't know yet. Down way probably.
Okay, so
because
you're
I know
feeling
that
more and more ready to switch.
Yes, because I have so many things in my mind that I would like to put in place to grow my products, but I don't have time to do that, right? And this is very frustrating.
Yeah, I understand. And did you have imagined to, for example, ask your work to work only 4 days a week?
Yeah, I mean that's eventually an option, but I don't think my current company is gonna evaluate it. Another possibility is to ask for a part-time job, right? So to reduce your amount of hours. Yeah, I could think about it. I don't know. Let's see.
When I was doing the podcast in French, I had many people in your case, but with less MRR. And that was the first recommendation I was giving is like, say to your boss, you want to quit or work 4 days a week for the same salary.
Mm-hmm.
And often they say yes. Because they don't have to pay you more. So it doesn't feel like they putting more money out, and they just believe you're going to do the work better. If you can prove them, so you can do it in 4 days, and then you have a new day for shipping your project.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. It's a good technique.
It's like a bit pushy, but I mean,
yes,
let's that can work. So I tend to have this kind of way of being pushy a bit sometimes. Otherwise, I felt like it took me years to grow in a certain way, while sometimes if you can have a bigger part of the cake, that's work better for yourself. So yeah,
that's true.
I'm curious for the people who listen to us if some of them have think to that or have done that. You can tell me on Twitter about that. Will be interesting to discuss about it. I'm wondering, like, about your first project. What was your first project you did work on it 2 years?
Yes. So it was a kind of Loom. So Loom is very popular. It's a product to record the screen and share it later on with whoever needs it. So it was very similar to that one. It was basically a Chrome extension to record your screen. But the difference is that you could add comments to your recording, highlight specific portions of the frame and add a comment and start a thread, very similar to Slack, let's say. And there was, of course, also a web application where you could consume the recording and add comments and so on. It was very, very, very nice and very interesting. We were very good at execution. But I look at this product as, two issues. The first one is that you need to involve a lot of people, right? Because our use case scenario was, for instance, a development team of a company, of a product company that involves the UX and UI designers, the product owner, and the developers. and all of them need to have an efficient way to share feedback between them, basically. And this tool was super effective at doing it. But again, you need to involve a lot of people, and this team is usually part of a company. Yeah. And also the company needs to agree on using this kind of product and tool, right? So it was a bit difficult to sell it. And the other thing is that it's more a vitamin product. It's not really a painkiller. So sometimes you receive the feedback, no, we are just good sharing screenshots on Slack and talking about it. It was just enough for them. So yeah, it was difficult to grow, definitely. But the good thing is that after the product had launched, that was not super successful, we got noticed by one person that connected us with an Italian startup, and they actually they were interested in buying the product. So in September 2021, we were able to sell it with 0 MRR, and so it was not a huge deal, but it was a good exit for us.
That's cool. That's cool to have been able to do that. So they keep the other company who did buy it still they promote the product, or they have integrated the technology in their product?
It's still there. It's standalone. So it's live, is there. So it's not super integrated, but they're using it because they have a business around user testing. They didn't have a product like this to collect feedback and so on. So it was very useful to add this product to their portfolio for them.
Okay. Interesting. So because you posted on Productant, that's how you get the connection with the guy who connect you to the startup who need your product.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is the big lesson to show up in public, and because you don't know which effects an opportunity could come just by knowing and showing your products and what you are doing. That is then the base of the built in public, let's say, movement.
Yeah. I agree. That's something I am also learning right now. Like a few days ago, I think last week, I got contacted by Appsumo. I don't know if you know them. Yes. And because they have seen my product on Twitter, so that's why they contacted me. I was like, very surprised about that. So that's very cool. And I will have the meeting today, and let's see where it's going. But that's very interesting to see like how by showing up to the world, you have some result like unexpected. You didn't think. Like some people find a co-founder, some others find a way to sell. It's very, very interesting.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
So when you saw Twitter like was something for indie makers, and how did you learn about like you need a distribution channel because your product didn't got users, or you saw something like a formation tweet?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't remind exactly why we realized that. I think that it was very spontaneous that we noticed that the successful products on Product Hunt, probably they weren't that successful. I mean, not every time for the quality of the product per se or something special, but because they had a big newsletter, for instance, or a big following on social platforms and so on. So we just realized that that was something that we needed. I don't know how that happened. It was very organical. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I've used Twitter. I opened my account in 2009, so it's very old. And I was using the platform in a very different way to interact with local people and meet new people, right? And then I stopped using it for, 12 years, something like that. But it's a platform I always enjoyed using. So I took it back, I opened my account, and I started exploring and looking at content and things around, and Just I found some amazing indie hackers, and like Arvid Kahl, for instance, or Simon Hoiberg, Tony Dean, of course. And I've learned a lot about their approach. And there's a lot of content if you look for it. I read a couple of books from Arvid. So the Embedded Entrepreneur book was really inspirational for me because it describes very well his approach and the building public attitude.
Yeah, I will probably have him in the podcast at one point to talk about that. Okay, very interesting. I think the link of all the makers you have put will be in the description. I have to put a reminder here. I can do a reminder in the video, so I will be able to do that. On the other things you told me, there are things I think I am interesting about. Currently, you have two products on Twitter. I'm interested about how you got the idea of the first product and how you got the first client. Two questions.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting question because the idea came because I noticed that many big accounts were talking about Twitter DMs as a very powerful and effective tool on the platform to create meaningful relationships with people and create, connections and human interactions. So I wanted to find a way to leverage Twitter DMs much, much more. I was not using them at all, to be honest. So I came up with this idea of a very, very small feature. It was a welcome message DM for my new followers. So people were interested in my content, I was sending them automatically a welcome message DM saying thanks for the follow, what are you working on, something like that. So I would like to know my audience much more and the people following me. The interesting thing is that my first client actually was a person that asked to pay for the service even if I didn't integrate any payment processor service yet, so I didn't have Stripe or Paddle in place, and he wanted to be supportive and pay for the service anyway. So I told him, wait a couple of days, let me integrate something, and then I'll let you pay for the service.
I got the same feedback when I was building CapGo. I released it as an open source product, and then I built a website to be able to manage it. It was easier. And people were asking the support, I don't understand where we pay. There are no payment right now because I didn't build it.
Yeah, that's a good feedback anyway, because it means that they find value in your product, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. For me, it's like a proof of your product market fit. People believe like this is so good, then why they didn't pay for that? So, and they didn't just have the question from themselves, like they got enough, the question strong, like they want to ask the founder, like by email, or like it's very engaging to do that. So for me, it's a huge signal you're going to some good direction. And you can see it now, like your product is growing and mine as well. So it's probably the case. So your first product is just about DM automation, right?
Yes, it's about DM automation. Yes,
can you say the name of
and
it?
outreach. It's called Hivoe.
Yeah.
Hivoe.
Okay.
It's a fantasy name. It doesn't mean anything if you wanted to ask. Yes. And so the welcome message feature is still there. Plus, you can organize campaigns to contact potential leads. And there is the giveaway automation as well, which is a feature that I particularly like. Giveaways are those kind of tweets in which you give something for free to your audience. It could be whatever, a Notion guide and so on. And you say, just reply to this tweet and I will send you the link to the guide via DMs. and the sending of the DMs is completely automated, and
that's cool.
It's a really time saver.
And it's still working even with the new API pricing of Elon Musk?
This is a kind of journey, because they announced that they will add pricing for the Twitter APIs. The first deadline was the 9th of February. Now we are at the 14th of February, and they continuously postpone to put the new pricing live. So yeah, we don't know yet. Probably it's gonna be 100 euros per month or dollars per month, something like this, to access the Twitter APIs. But there are no details yet, so I don't know.
Okay, interesting approach. Are you afraid about making product on Twitter because of that? The big change they announced?
It's the so-called platform risk, right? So when you start building a product based on a platform, there is always this big risk, because you don't know how the platform will evolve, how they will change the behavior of the Twitter APIs and so on. So this risk is always present. So there's something that is always in my mind. And so at the moment, I'm focusing on these products that are Twitter related, but in the future, for sure, I'd like to have something that mitigates these risks. So it's no more a platform related or related to another platform and so on. So I'm able to mitigate the risks a lot.
Okay, so you in a way, like, this is a strategy, a starting strategy. It's easier to build on a platform and then get away from platform or do a product outside of it.
Absolutely. Also because at the moment there is a good compounding or good loop, let's say, because I'm building an audience on Twitter. My products are Twitter related, so of course they feed each other, right?
Yeah, totally. I can see the relation. That it was a problem for me. For example, I'm on Twitter indie maker stuff since an eternity, but I was building like in French before. I was sharing in French while my clients are in English, so it wasn't like I was growing one thing on one side and one thing on the other side, and it wasn't matching up. So I decided to switch in English last year, I think, when my product started to grow, have a decent grow, and now that's I feel this combination as you, like when people see my work, then like, oh, and they become a client. But before it wasn't the case. So I think that's something important for indie makers, especially. It's like you cannot have channels who are very different, like, and necessitate a different effort to converge at one point. Like, you have to have something very close by, like, for example, the biggest part of my marketing of CapGo, it's on GitHub, because my tool is a tool for developers. So it's where the developers are. And Twitter is a part, but it's still a tiny part. And you see, like, what I was trying to share is like, I cannot put so much effort on Twitter, because the effort to get someone from Twitter to my product, it's still harder than in the channel, which is nearest in interest as GitHub. So I really think like that's something hard to see for makers and for marketing in general, to really find channel which will be very easy for you to provide value on and then get client from.
That's absolutely true. And also I think there's something that is not super optimized, let's say, because, for instance, of course, I do build in public on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And most of the people that are interested in my content are other startup founders or aspiring indie hackers and so on, that are not the perfect target audience for my products. They might be quite different. So there's not a perfect match. Yes, the perfect match, or there's not a perfect overlapping between my Twitter audience and the customers of my products. While there are other Twitter accounts that the content they are posting and the strategy they talk about is 100% related to the service that they sell. So, for instance, I don't know if you're provide services in marketing. Of course, you talk about marketing, so you attract people interested in improving the marketing side, and you sell also marketing services. So, in that case, it's perfect.
Yeah.
But for SaaS founders, it's a bit different.
Yeah, I definitely think like Twitter is like it's a good channel, but it's a bit indirect channel still, because you're gonna attract like solo makers as you. So probably in your price tier, it will be the cheapest price. So it means the effort you put to get a client, it's compared to revenue, it's not so good. Like for example, my biggest price tier in Capgo is 500 euro a month. So I'm definitely like trying to find a way to have more effort on them, this pricing than the 14 euro a month, because the the interest on back is way more interesting. I mean, like 500 to 14 euro a month. I think to reach the same, I have to, yeah, it's like in 5 years, the first plan will be the same as 1 month of the biggest plan. So definitely important to choose wisely. So for you, where is your target audience for your biggest pricing, for example?
There are probably small agencies or even startups that are a bit more structured and have more money to spend in outreach, for instance. So there's a variety of users and personas, but those spending more money are or copywriters even, because they continuously look for new clients. So copywriters and freelancers are a good target as well.
Okay, and where do you find them then? If it's not Twitter the best place, what's the best place for you?
I still need to figure it out, to be honest, to find the right process to find them effectively. So at the moment they find me basically through Twitter.
Okay.
Probably randomly, networking effect on the platform. So I think at the moment is the current flow is that one. In fact, the growth is steady, as I said.
So the most like people find you by Twitter, but you feel this is not the most performing channel. Still, you can find better one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. For me, like what I am trying to build right now is to have an email list of potential clients. I've discovered a way to get this email very easily because I'm a developer. So I find a way to scrap email, and I will try to contact them in direct to have a direct contact with them, because same like if I'm doing a Twitter post or GitHub like project, plugin, whatever, it's still like indirect. People find me like a bit randomly and like, oh, that's interesting. So I try to find a direct connection, and that's called cold outreach email. What I will try to do now, but it felt a bit like like the old marketing way. I don't know. Like I have a judgment about that. I don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't know if you see what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I completely relate to that. In fact, I think that the most effective technique probably is to find more details about that person, to understand if that person is the right target for your product. I mean that they can get value out of your product.
Yeah.
And at that point, when you know that because you studied a bit that person, what they're talking about and posting in public, you can reach out to them with a really customized message, of course, because you know quite well that person. And I think that this approach gives the best results.
Yeah, that's what I am going to try for my product. Like I found a way to get emails of developers teams. So Capgo, it's a tool for developers. So I find a way to get the email of developer teams because they publish app on the Play Store, And when you publish an app, you have an email to the developer team available publicly. So I find a way to get this email and also to check into the app if they use the technology necessary, like which is my target audience. So with that, I made a script to scrap basically the whole Google Play Store. So now I have 3,000 email, I think, something like that, almost 4,000, which is exact my target audience. So I have to try that and see how that's work. But that's pretty difficult when, like, especially when you're a developer and you don't come from a marketing point of view. Like, it seems very like hardcore understanding this path. But I really believe like that's the only way. By doing some things you know nothing about, you will learn, and that's how you're gonna grow. Because marketing is there are no products who work without marketing. Could have been my dream, but it doesn't exist. But
Yeah.
There are some different form of marketing who works, but it definitely always marketing at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that probably at the beginning of the journey of your product, it's very important to spend a lot of time even using not scalable methodologies, like actively looking for people to reach out and talk about your product, because you still need to understand what are the main pains and issues you need to solve for them. So you need to talk a lot with them to understand what they really need and how they describe their issues, because the way they talk to you is perfect for your copy on your landing page, right? Because you can write sentences that relate a lot and resonates a lot with your right audience. So I think that especially at the beginning, you need to go through this non-scalable process, but to improve a lot the product.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I'm thinking to do right now. It's I don't want to reach like send an automated email of 4,000 people. I want to send like my goal is to be able to send an email a day, like slightly personalized to every team on my list, to try to build a relationship with them and see like having their word and not try to just tell them, buy that. It's just like building a relationship with them, and then maybe at one point they will be, oh, that's an interesting product. I will buy it, and which is cool. It's currently I have also segmentation in the email list. Is like I have the size of the app downloads, so I can know in which pricing tier they are, basically, if they subscribe. So that's also an interesting point. It's like I can focus on the biggest one to create like longer relationship, and maybe on the lowest, the app who have lower download, to just send them a simple email, more showing the solution quickly, because I have less time to invest with them to make it working. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's an interesting strategy. So you have like do you have acquisition channel on Google as well, or it's very like only on Twitter?
Currently, I'm focused only on Twitter, also because my time is really limited. My available time is super limited. Yeah. So I'm focused on Twitter because I see it's the channel that is working better at the moment. Yeah, I have some organic traffic coming from Google search engines. It's not big yet. But I definitely need to invest more time in producing more content, more guides, more knowledge base on the product. But it's time consuming. So
okay, very interesting. I think we can go to my list of questions as well. Do you have another project you're thinking to build in the future? I think first we should talk about your second project. What is the second project?
The second project is called Inboxes, without the E, Inboxes. And the current shape of the product is that it is basically a Twitter DMs productivity inbox, and light CRM, let's say, it's super effective because I find that the Twitter DMs on Twitter are very difficult to manage. So you can miss conversations and messages very easily. You don't have a lot of functionalities that are the very base for every chatting messaging application. And so I wanted to improve this side of the platform. So I built this application that adds a lot of productivity features. So you can finally mark a conversation as unread. You have unlimited pins. You have an archive. So you can archive, if you like the inbox zero approach, you can archive conversations and keep it very clean. You can add reminders in case you need to follow up on a conversation in, I don't know, one day, next week, next month, and so on. So it's perfect
need that.
Yeah, it's perfect for people trying to, try to sell or follow-ups are very important in general because we are all very busy, and it might happen that the first message doesn't get the attention of the other person. So following up is very important. Then you get quick replies, so you can create a set of common replies that you can send just using a shortcut. That's pretty much it, I think. The interesting thing is that you can give access to your Twitter DMs inbox also to other people. So if you have a virtual assistant, if you have a team of salesperson, you can give them access to your Twitter DMs inbox because you sign up using a Google account and then you connect your Twitter accounts, even more than one. So I have 3 Twitter accounts linked in my inbox because I have my personal Twitter account and the 2 Twitter accounts, one for Hive.e and one for inboxes. So I don't miss any message anymore because I have all the conversations for the 3 accounts in one place. And I have some clients that have virtual assistants, so they give access to their Twitter inbox to them, and their virtual assistants go through the conversations, they make follow-ups, and so on. So it's super comfortable, actually.
I definitely feel the pain of my way of doing things right now because I have someone a virtual assistant to contact people one by one on Twitter, so my DM are totally bloated by message, and in between they have the conversation with people like you. And each time I was like thinking, I had to think about you, about the podcast. I have to talk back to Luca, and I forgot for days. So I go back and I scroll in the DM to find back the conversation. So
Yes.
I definitely feel the pain of that.
Yes. One more
question.
feature that I forgot to mention is that you have a tagging system. So you can add tags to your conversations and then filter your conversations based on your tags. So for instance, if I'm an interviewer, you can tag me with interviewer and then later on filter all their conversations with that tag. So you can easily find a conversation back later.
Yeah, that's very cool. What I was thinking to ask you is like why did you make a different product? Why?
That's a very good question. It's something I thought about a lot in the past. So at the end, I decided to create a different product because I think that it's easier to communicate the value proposition for the 2 products separately. So one is for grow your business using Twitter DMs. The other one is improve your sales and nurture your conversations and so on. So I thought it was easier to make them separate. And the extra challenge is that you need to do double marketing because there are 2 different products. And this is a big challenge. But I thought that anyway, in the future, I'm using the same technological stack. So in the future, if I see that it's impossible to grow inboxes alone, I can always merge them together.
Talking about technology stack, you say you were a software engineer. What is your specialty in your 9 to 5? You're like a front end, back end?
I'm a full stack, but I spent most of my time working on the front end.
Okay.
So that's my specialty, let's say. Yeah, the stack is very interesting because I found that by using Next.js, which is a framework, let's say, it's not really a framework, but it's a very powerful tool to create full stack applications with React and Vercel services. It's for me, it's the perfect setup to create new products because you don't have to think about infrastructure and maintenance and so on. It's delegated to them. You pay monthly, of course, but it's a reasonable amount of money. It's around $20 per month, I think. And it's very effective and I'm super productive. So it's the perfect stack for me.
I totally resonate with this idea. And I don't have servers since, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. But lately it's become very easier and easier. You can do everything in serverless. It's very easy to code. You don't have to redo the wheel to have something working very well. What I find a bit difficult sometimes is like if you need in your product a kind of a background job, like staying up on Vercel and stuff like that, it's a bit harder to manage. You have to rethink a bit about how you build the product.
Yes.
But yeah, otherwise, I think that's an amazing way to build a product and to do it alone. You don't need a team of thousands of engineers to just do a product who do a lot of things. So that's very good for me. I use Supabase mainly for everything. So for the cloud function, for the database, for the real time, and the hosting is on Netlify because I was on Vercel before, but it wasn't working well because I'm not using React. I'm using Vue.js, and it wasn't so much optimized. So I switched to Netlify at all points.
Yes, makes sense.
Yeah. And they had, I think, more freedom on the cloud function than Vercel at the time I did the switch. Now maybe it's better. I saw today they're doing the cron. They release the cron methods on Vercel and so on. So they get stronger over time.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's I think for me technology it's a very interesting point because like when you come from a developer perspective, at the beginning you're more like trying to get the last trendy things, the last beautiful shiny object, and then when you become a maker with more experience, you tend to make things as simple as possible and reliable as possible. So I'm not like using the last trend. Sometimes yes, because the technology pushed me to. Like for example, Supabase used Deno.js for the cloud function. So I have used Deno, which is basically Node.js with a bit more modern approach, but it's still the same. But otherwise, I'm not using any fancy stuff, like a very basic approach. I don't know for you.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. So at the beginning, for instance, for the first product I built, my mindset was, okay, if this product is gonna fail, I have learned something about the technological stack, right? So I used a lot of new things, especially on AWS. And I think that this is not the right approach. So we should optimize for speed of delivery and the most comfortable and known technology that you have, because you need to fail fast. So you need to get the feedback from the market if there is demand or not, if the idea is good or not. So ideally, you should even avoid implementing anything. So you should validate your product by talking to people, making waiting lists, landing page, and that's it. You should even avoid to implement anything. But if you really want to implement something, use what you know the best. So if it is PHP, do it in PHP. You don't need to use Node.js or whatever brilliant framework is out in the market. You need to ship very fast.
Yeah, definitely. Like for me, like I use Node.js and JavaScript like Vue since I was working in company, so that's the stack I have keep because it looks very simple to me. But for example, I'm building mobile apps and I could have tried to follow the trend to go to React Native, or even in front, I could have go to React Native. But it doesn't, like, first, I don't like much React. I don't know why it doesn't look good to me. And plus, like, I felt like, what's the point? What's the point of changing for the most trendy things while mine work pretty well? So same for mobile apps. Like, I do apps in JavaScript and then it works pretty good. And that's it. Like, you don't need to do the trendiest things. You need to do things that work. Like, you need to have time to focus on what bring value to your client. If you focus on learning a new tech, then your objective is not making a successful product. And that's okay, but don't fool yourself with this different approach.
That's true. That there's a nice story is that Slack, when they did the IPO, so they were listed on the stock exchange, they were still using jQuery in their code base. You know, jQuery is this old JS JavaScript library that was really used in so many websites at that time. But when they did the IPO, jQuery was not a thing anymore. It was replaced, by React, Vue, and so on. They did an IPO because the technology doesn't matter. You need to have users, happy customers, and paying users. That's what matters the most, right?
Yeah. I think one of the most big realization for me was even you can have a product totally broken, slow as fuck, and whatever. Like, I don't know if you have used Notion, but Notion is a fast product since a year, or 2 max. But before it was super slow to load. It was like an eternity. But it was solving a real pain of people. Like, taking notes was not like very convenient and not enough open to build it as you want. So that was solving a real pain, and people were using it anyway. And that's same for my product. I got this realization, like, the register path was broken for weeks, and I still got people like complaining about, hey, I need to register to your product. So they couldn't even try it, but they knew the value proposition was important to them, and they were contacting me like, hey, I cannot register. So I was fixing the account by hand until I found the bug. But that's something like you blow your mind when you're like, okay, so I don't need to have like a beautiful design. I don't need to have the things like super fast with the best coding practice and whatever. You just need something solve a real problem. That's the first step. Then you're gonna improve over time. It's okay.
Yes, absolutely true.
So let's go to my question now. Do you have another product you want to build in the future?
I have 2 or 3 ideas of problems to solve, but I need to put them in a box in post at the moment, because I definitely don't have bandwidth to work on them. And moreover, now I want to focus on growing Highboy as much as I can. So all my effort is focused on growing Highboy. Also because I have a good signal from the market, not only from the users and the MRR, which is growing steadily with my marketing effort, which is constant, is always the same. But there are also a lot of competitors popping up recently, which is a good signal for me, because it means that there is a market. There are other entrepreneurs interested in solving this problem, and they are growing as well. So, of course, there's more competition, but it's also a good signal for me. It means that I can grow the product much more.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Do you have something you wish someone have told you before starting your indie maker journey?
At the beginning, yes. So focus on distribution first. Absolutely, this one is key. The second one is how to validate an idea effectively. So I think my journey is interesting, because first product, 2 years building in the dark. Second product, I launched really an MVP, and I did build in public, which is good, but it's still not optimal. The third product, I did a pre-launch, which is probably even better, right? So I did a landing page with the describing the features and the value proposition. And at the end of the page, there was just buy lifetime access to this product. You can't try it right now, but you can purchase a lifetime access. And I talked about inboxes for a week on Twitter. So I was posting daily something related to that. And it was interesting because I was able to sell 20 licenses in the first week and around 50 licenses in total over 2 months. So for me, it was a good signal that there was a demand for this kind of product. And so I completed the development of the product. And then mid-December, I launched it publicly. And I think that it's a good way of validating an idea, right? Because the strongest validation you can have from the users is when they pay for your product. And with this technique, you are able to validate that. So people purchasing the lifetime deal of the product is a good validation, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely. The money is the only good proof. Intention, like saying, yeah, I would love to buy it when it's ready, is like, no, zero. Like, money is the real deal. If you got money, that's a very good signal. Definitely. So yeah, I agree. Do you have a favorite quote, something like very touching you in the market journey?
Yes, I have one. It's not from any indie hacker, but I think it's nice. It is kind of, if you're not embarrassed by your MVP, you launched too late.
Oh, yeah.
which is nice.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. I agree. That's something like you can see like this pattern with makers. It's very easy to see like they're like, oh no, but like 2 more days I will add that, and 2 more days, and 6 months later you talk with them and there's still 2 more days. And like, you know, dude.
Launch it, even if it is buggy or there's something missing. You need to get feedback. So yeah.
yeah, that's crazy, and that's a very easy pattern you can see on people. Or the same guy, there are also the guy who tell you like, yeah, but I don't want to talk much about my idea, blah blah blah. You're like, okay, dude. I understand. It's fine. You will come back in few months and say, talk about your idea first, to see if you're not like launching stupid things instead of picking it for you.
Exactly. There's another mistake. So I don't know if it is a quote or not, but it's pretty common to say that ideas are worth nothing, are zero, right? It's just an idea. if you don't work on it or you don't validate it and so on. So feel free to talk about it.
I think I got a good one to phrase. I think we can say your idea has more chance to be stupid than to be stolen.
That's a good one. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. That's my feeling. It will be the title of the episode.
Okay.
Okay. So one last question for me. Who I should invite after you in this podcast, and then we're good.
Yes. So there is one person on the Twitter sphere that is really doing brilliantly, and his name is Lilian of Sidebird. So his product is Sidebird. So I'm pretty sure you know him.
Yeah. And Mark already told me to get Lilian as well, so we're gonna plan that.
Okay. So would be interested in listening to an interview to Lilian. Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's do that. Amazing. So last question for you, where we send people if they want more info about what you're doing?
Yes, just follow me on Twitter. You can look for my name on Twitter. It's a little bit difficult to pronounce for foreign people, but it's Luca Restagno is the right Italian pronunciation. And the handle is even more difficult. So look into the notes.
How you say it? I have it on right now because it will be on the description of the episode for people to get easier than try to guess.
Thank you.
But how you pronounce your handle, Twitter handle?
The handle is a very old Japanese. It's a Japanese name. It's Ikoichi, something like that.
Ikoichi.
Yeah.
And what does it mean?
I have no idea.
Genius.
As I said, I created my Twitter account in 2009, and when I was a teenager, my nickname was always this one. So it's still the nickname that I was using on IRC.
Okay.
Those messaging platforms used ages ago.
So you have lost the meaning of this. That's fun.
Yeah.
Okay,
Japanese name.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thanks a lot for your time. It was cool to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Martin. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Cool. If our listener did enjoy the podcast, if you who listen right now, you enjoy the podcast, I recommend you to send a tiny message to Luca in DM because he has a very good tool. He will answer you for sure. And that's really nice of you. If you do that, you can give us feedbacks, you like it or not. Especially for me, you can tell me how I can be a better interviewer, have a better setup, light, whatever, mics. Whatever you feel it's shitty or can be improved, you can tell me and I will listen. So thanks for that and see you next week. Bye bye.